All right, it's Monday. What's happening, everybody? It is Powershift Your week time. Hey, the beauty shark Ginger, how are you? Greg, what's up, my man? Hope everybody had a really happy 4th. Can you hear me clear enough, or should I put my headsets in? Just let me know. Cool. All right, so you know what time it is. Making sure everybody's checking in. It is time for Powershift Your week, presented by my buddies over at T-Mobile for Business. So, of course, every week, Monday at 1 o'clock, I, give you as much information to power your week, as I'm learning to grow as well. I share some of the things that are inspiring me, as well as hopefully they'll inspire you. They inspire you to go out there, because I know we're all wrestling with so much change and confusion and excitement at the same time. And every little piece of advice that we can get from other people to see that they're also going through all those same things and how you can empower yourself is always going to be helpful, no matter what. Remember, you got to learn something new every single day. And, this is brought to you by my buddies over at T-Mobile for Business. And if you're a business owner looking for even more insights, please head over to tmobile.com/business. to take advantage of all the amazing resources they have available for you. All right, so segment number 1 is going to be, Did You Know? Did you know, according to 2019 survey by data analytics company The Manifest, 74% of social media users follow brands on their social media pages, and 96% of those who follow brands also interact with them by using social media platforms. Now, why is this important? Because a lot of times people think that they're separate from their brand, and they're not. Damon John was always part of FUBU, and FUBU was always part of Damon John. And you think that you can say, well, I'm on my private Instagram or social media page, and what does that got to do with my brand? Because people may not know that I'm behind the brand, but no matter what, with transparency, people correlate things and they get it and they understand it. And it can work against you or it can work for you. I'll give you an example. When we gave away a lot of money, we would donate to battered women's charitable organizations, or Hale House, or build basketball courts in inner cities, or give computers to schools and things of that nature. We never, because social media didn't exist, we never advertised or marketed it, because why would you ever do that and market and advertise of the hardships of others? It's kind of like, when you see people helping people out on the street, giving them a hamburger or something like that, and they're taking a picture, oh, look how good I am, giving a hamburger away. And that person is not only forced to take the burger or the food because they are in a bad position in their life, but now they're forced to even take a picture of them doing it, so it knocks them down even another step. So when we were out there giving away and doing charitable things, we never advertised or marketed it. Now, however, we got a big backlash because social media didn't exist. People said we weren't doing enough when we were doing a lot. And at that time, media was controlled by the regular outlets, or television, or news stations, or magazines. So you had no voice to get out there and really hit people with all the stuff you're doing for them, as well as working with them. But now, people do want to know. There are layers, and they want to know what you're doing. They love to support a brand, but they love just to know what you're doing. And a lot of times when you're doing for others, let's say like my Bombas guys, you'll have people put up content on how they have been to certain places and they see what Bombas is doing. Not Bombas putting it up. The other people who are feeling good about it, or people when every time they buy a pair of Bombas or a pair of Tom shoes or the bracelets that help clean up the ocean, they love to brag about all the things you're doing because they feel like they're part of what's going on with you, and they want to support you. So you have to understand your brand is extremely, extremely important on social media these days. And a lot of people, we are seeing them getting in trouble. All the people that are getting caught out there doing crazy things, and they're being let go from their companies because they had the nerve to maybe videotape their wife doing something really ridiculous. And even though they didn't do it, but they were part of it because they were videotaping them. So make sure that you listen to your consumer and listen to them, because if you're a small company, you definitely want to get feedback. That's how I just fixed the stupid little thing that I did on there where I put the wrong pin in there because I saw somebody say, you just messed up your hashtag. That's free advice. That made me look so much better now, because what if after this broadcast is over, and you know how I repost things, all of a sudden it says Powershift or whatever was the wrong word. Now, what if you were watching it and you didn't know Damon John, and you weren't a fan of Damon John and knows that Damon John is dyslexic? You would have been like, well, you look at this idiot. He can't even spell Powershift. The same thing, that it's his book and he can't even spell. Why would I even listen to this person anymore? Right? So that's purely a typical example of how you can learn from the people. And remember, social media platforms are free. Listen, one day, we can complain all we want about social media platform, scraping our identity, doing this and that. It's free. And you know what? One day they're going to turn on a switch and you're going to have to pay for it as well. So take advantage of it right now, and, make sure that you understand that stat and you use it to the best of your advantages. All right. So, next part, I always like to talk about a nice song, a motivational song. I remember so many different times and places that I was in a dark place and a song picked me up. But today's motivational mix that I want to talk about is Remember the Name by Fort Minor. Now, here's why I want you to listen to the song, or check it out if you don't already know the song. Here's the lyrics. Listen to the lyrics. This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power or will, 5% pleasure, and 50% pain, and 100% the reason to remember the name. I mean, I know so many of you are reflecting right now, thinking about how much pain it was to get where you are today, or how much you had to sacrifice, and how much of luck it was, and how much of skill it was, but more importantly, how much of will it was to get you where you are today. And, when you reflect back on that, everybody thinks that overnight success happened overnight. No, overnight success happened in 15 years and a lot of pain. And I think that if I reflect back to where I am today, if somebody would have told me all the things that I had to do to get here today, or say, or just remain a waiter in Red Lobster, I'll be very honest, I think I'd probably say I want to remain a waiter in Red Lobster. I would say it's not worth all the things that you just laid out that I would have to go through to get to this point in my life. However, when will and a dream is pushing you and other people are around you in the middle of when you're doing it, and it hurts and it's painful, but you feel some kind of joy, whether you're doing it for your family, or whether you're challenging yourself, or whether you feel there's a problem out there that needs to be solved that nobody's solving, or you're helping others, you turn around and you look back at life and you go, wow, I did all that. It's almost like everybody right now who's a parent. When you look back at all you had to sacrifice to whether put your kids through school, or keep your kids safe off the streets, or to educate them, or if they had sicknesses and ailments, if you in the hospital, or you were up at the school, or you were up at 3:00 in the morning and working to bust your butt to just do what you need to do for your kids. If you look back and somebody said you were going to have to do this all your life, you'd have said, no, I'm not doing that. A lot of people ask for the recipe for success, and some sort of magic formula, and that's it. That's about as close as you can get, about, the 10% luck and the 20% this and the 20% that. So do me a favor, go over to my Powershift Your Week Motivational Mix playlist on Spotify. And when there's a whole bunch of other songs there. And I'm going to bring on somebody right now, the T-Mobile for Business Fan Q&A. And let me read it to you. I'm always going to read the person off before I bring them on, because I don't want to have that weird, awkward moment. This is with Black 6 Coffee. His name is Joseph. Black 6 Coffee is a New York City based and veteran-owned coffee company that was created to fund the nonprofit organization of Black 6 Project. Black 6 Project provides humanitarian aid during disaster relief operations. So during the pandemic, Joseph, the founder, partnered with other veteran-owned businesses to run food for impact and initiate to provide meals for frontline workers, healthcare, EMT, and police officers. All right, so I'm going to bring Joseph on right now, and I'm going to see how much we can learn from Joseph. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you well.
Man, where are you guys at? It looks really nice out there.
Buffalo. Yeah, we're up. We took a weekend vacation up in Buffalo. I'm here with someone I serve with, Mark O'Brien. Every year we get back together and celebrate 4th of July together with our families.
Well, first of all, thank you for your service, and thank you for allowing me the freedom on 4th of July to say anything I want, to be who I want, because you guys risked it all on the front lines for us. And thank you so much for your service, both of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys. So, I want you to be able to ask me some questions. Hopefully I can give you some insight. And you know what? Let me raise this up, because now that when we have two people on the screen, and plus I got one of the biggest heads in the business. All right, there we go. Now I think you can see me, right? All right, cool. All right, so tell me a little bit about your business right now.
First of all, like our company Black Six is after a platoon that me and Mark served in. We deployed to Iraq together in this platoon in 2004, came back 2005. And when we started the nonprofit, the Black Six Project, it was mostly because I was working as a paramedic in Queens. And, being a military veteran, I still love being out there, serving the country. But I also was now in the medical field, and I ran across a bunch of other people who always wanted to do humanitarian work, but they didn't know which route to take it. And I figured, hey, I have a big network of first responders. I also have a group of motivated veterans that wanted to help out, but not in like a combat term, but pay back to, what's been keeping them up and the skills that they've learned in the military. So we started the Black Six Project. And then we got into coffee mostly by kind of by mistake. We were doing a disaster relief mission in the Philippines, and we were up in the mountains, and there were a bunch of coffee trees there. And being Filipino, I didn't know we grew coffee. And then it sort of hit me hey, we're always traveling to these countries that produce coffee. Like, why don't we bring it back? And being a nonprofit, we always had a hard time finding donations and asking for money. And we figured, hey, we're from New York. New York loves coffee. Let's do something different where we're actually bringing the coffee back ourselves and roasting it and trying to serve the best product at the same time. Tell the story of the coffee farmers that we're taking care of, and then also bring disaster relief into that sense, and that we can take the veterans and first responders out there. So that's how we started our organizations.
So you help the farmers. So is the coffee mainly from Philippines?
No, since that trip, we've gone to Guatemala, Costa Rica, Colombia. So it's expanded, and we sort of had more of a reason to go to other countries and check out how those communities are thriving, what we can do for them.
And so you're helping those communities that you're sourcing the coffee from. Is this cottage industry, or is this manufacturers out there, farmers, or all of it?
It's mostly agriculture. So especially in the Philippines, they're from here, we hardly hear about Filipino coffee. So out there it's straight agriculture, and it's mostly locally served coffee. But they've been growing coffee since the late 1800s. We just didn't know about it. And then it was affected during World War II. So we're trying to make it agriculture and turn it to more education, and bring up their grade of coffee into a sort of specialty coffee grade, the ones that you've been seeing coming from Colombia, Guatemala, Costa Rica, and produce a better one. But that's one of the challenges we've been having, is now creating a new supply chain from a region of coffee that has never been really brought to the U.S. before.
And then when you bring it here, how are you selling it and distributing it?
So we started the company in late 2018, and our thing was to have the best cup of coffee. We would want to have it in its most precious state. So we had sort of roast to order. Only when you order the coffee, that's when we roast it. So that way it doesn't sit in its roasted form that long. Sort of like what I always say, like if you have a piece of toast sitting for a while, it gets stale quick. Same thing with coffee. So it was mostly online, and then earlier this year we opened a cafe in the East Village on East 4th Street. But then during COVID, we decided to cut it down, and we mostly focused on our mission with the nonprofit to create PPE and also pair up with other food companies that were trying to survive. And we started collecting donations and giving it to those companies to make food, and then which we distributed the food to the EMS stations and also the hospitals that were battling with COVID in New York City.
And where were you finding the donations? Were they coming from other? I mean, because at that time, or even now, it's really hard to get people to donate. I'm not gonna say it's really hard. I'm surprised that through a lot of people's challenges, what they're having, they still, if they got $10, they'll give 8 if they can to you. Where were you finding your donations? Was it other companies, stores, or just everyday individuals who says, here, man, I don't have much and I'm going through a hard time, but I want to give?
Initially, it was because we spread the word initially through like social media, and it was individuals who used to come to our cafe and they're like, hey, we'd love to like donate to this, our network. And then eventually our network spread into other companies like that wanted to donate and be part of this thing. So that's where our larger donations came from law offices to different corporations, and that provided larger amounts of meals at that time.
All right, so I got the whole picture, and everybody here got the picture. First of all, you served our country, and then you go out and you try to help others who are really having a challenging time, or they just want to help their communities be able to thrive and flourish. You go back to New York and you set up shop to provide really obviously a great product that you care about, but more importantly after that you take the proceeds of or when people donate to then further pay it forward. I mean, we hear so many negative things out there in the world today, so many bad people, but I mean, you guys are the epitome of great people. So if you have some questions for me, I don't know if I can help you guys, because you're almost like saints, in what you're trying to do for everybody, but I definitely ask me some questions and maybe I can give you some kind of insight.
I think one of the good ones Mark brought up was do you know that I'm from Hollis too? When we immigrated from the Philippines, me and my family lived on 186th Street and 89th Avenue. So
wow.
Here is a great thing. We sort of have like these origins that we share. But one of them is
that's great. Hollis, Queens is a very special place.
Yeah, I went to Catholic school in St. Gerard on 188 in Jamaica.
I went to St. Gerard as well.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, I went to St. Gerard as well. I loved it so much that I got left back in the 7th grade. And then when my mother, realized that my father just left, my mother said, I'm busting my butt to send you to St. Gerard. And you know what? You don't respect me enough. Your father just left, and you got to be the man of the house. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put your ass in IS 238, where you can get beat up all the time, and you're no longer around your friends. And guess what happened? I got my ass whooped in IS 238, and I said, I am never getting left back again. And my mother, that was the best thing that she could have ever done for me, because she basically said to me, you are responsible for your own destiny.
Mm-hmm. That's great. That's great to hear. I can't believe we went to the same Catholic school.
And I got married there 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great that it's still there, but it's unfortunate that the school is gone now. Yeah, so our question was like, how was it, what challenges did you face in sort of like selling FUBU to like your own community? Because I think at the times that we grew up there and like growing up younger, you were mostly surrounded about like a bunch of people like really putting your dreams down. Just wanted you to be part of like, part of the group. Or how did you stray away from that, and how did you get them to be part of it?
Fascinating question, very interesting. And most of the times, you have two theories. You have the theory of you need to be a star in your community to move on elsewhere. That's why we all know that, Billy Joel is from, I think, Long Island, and Biggie Smalls is from Brooklyn, and you get the people around you to really, sing your praises. But then sometimes the theory is that you go elsewhere and you get appreciated by others who don't put you down, and then you come back home. The same way that Bob Marley really didn't get much play in Jamaica, but he got it elsewhere. And then after that, people, because he was going and being fresh and in a new place like you guys going and traveling the world, he came with a different perspective. And then the great people of Jamaica said, "Oh my God, that's our boy." You know what I mean? And that kind of happened to me at first as well. When and a lot of people here watching us know my story. But when I first started to make hats and shirts and stuff like that, growing up in Hollis, Queens, where even though it's a magical place, there was a lot of bad things happening. And Hollis, Queens was separated in two different ways. You were either a drug dealer from Supreme Team and various other places like that, because crack had really started devastated around 1986, like in many communities, or something must be in the water of Hollis, Queens, because Young MC, Run DMC, Lost Boys, Tribe Called Quest, Ja Rule, 50 Cent, Salt and Pepper, LL Cool J, Dr. Dre and Ed Lover, all came from this one area. The guys in Onyx used to be my barbers. They used to shave my head. Lost Boys. So you either had two options, to either go to the streets or go to the music side, and you would hope to go to the music side. However, I decided to do neither one. First of all, I was not going to go to the streets and be a drug dealer because I was really short and I was really cute, and I know how that thing would have ended up, and it wouldn't have been good for me. And number two, I couldn't rap, right? So I decided to create and start making clothing for other music artists that I liked and wanted to wear in the street. But the drug dealers didn't talk to me because at that time, the perception of somebody in fashion was a flamboyant guy from France. So, of course, they said I was gay, not that I have any issue with anybody's sexuality. And rappers at the time, that's also a very homophobic community, So I was kind of like, nobody talked to me. Because like I would be with my friends, and my friends, the movie, because Hype Williams also grew up there, and Irv Gotti, and Hype Williams, myself and Irv Gotti, we used to all go on tour when we were 14 years old, pushing around speakers for Run DMC and LL Cool J. And Hype would end up making a movie about my friend named Belly and so the guys who were in Belly, he actually just called me last week and said after 27 years, he's finally going to get paroled. But the guy from Belly and them, they stopped hanging out with me because I'm up there talking about I got little yellow patterns that I got to go home and sew. So I was not accepted at that time in that area. I took out an ad in the Right On or Black Beat magazine, and it was me and us, all our friends wearing hats, and I think I spent about $800 on it. And the first places that would purchase be the white skateboarding grunge, Nirvana loving kids in Seattle, Washington, who wanted to fight the system. And when I started selling there, that's when I started to get a little bit of respect from the local stores in my area. But I had to show them that I was having orders from around the world coming in, even though the orders were like, a total of maybe 70 orders, but these kids kept reordering. And then the stores in those areas started calling the stores in New York saying, "Do you have FUBU? Because we want to get it, we can't get a hold of it." And I took that evidence over to stores and I started selling. So a lot of times you will not be accepted in your area because either you are around the wrong people or they don't have a vision. And I always say, whenever you're not accepted in something, if somebody knew better than you, then there would be no need for you. So, that's a lot of times, how people solve problems, and you can't fight someplace where you don't think that they're going to appreciate you. You just find other people to appreciate you.
Thank you. Pretty good story there. Next question is, we had to sort of shift our distribution as far as like serving our own brewed coffee. During COVID, we had to shut down, and then during the protests, our coffee shop was looted, so we lost a lot of money and like trying to repair it, and ended up just turning the lease back over. And right now we're thinking of doing crowdfunding and create a coffee van that also doubles as a disaster relief van, go to different parts of the country should a natural disaster occur with our volunteers. There's different ways we're thinking of funding it, and one of them through crowdfunding. What are your opinions on crowdfunding on something that's sort of like nonprofit wise, but also like in the beverage and food industry?
Well, first of all, to find out that guys like you trying to do God's work, your shop was looted, it really is upsetting, and it's sad that when people are going after good causes, there's always going to be a bad percentage of bad people. In the same way that there is a small bad percentage of good cops. I mean, a small bad percentage of cops who are good. There's a small percentage of people who take advantage of really a bad situation going on in the world where people are trying to correct it, and they taint it with what they did to you, and that is horrible. And what I realized as I've been doing a lot of the interviews, the people who are out there looting, damn near didn't even know what was going on down the block. They were just they were just bad people, and they were bad people. The same as cops. Who wants to be sitting outside in hot summertime dealing with death and all this other stuff all day long? And it's not an easy job. And then the small percentage that are frustrated or do the wrong thing, they hurt everybody else, all the other ones like our first responders. Now, in regards to what you're discussing with me about crowdfunding campaigns are no different than when you are launching a product in any form. A lot of people have not the right information about crowdfunding campaign because they go, okay, well, I'm going to put something up and everybody's going to love it and hopefully support it. But there are a couple of books on it. I don't have them at the top of my head, but I would assume that you can obviously Google them. A crowdfunding campaign generally, historically, there's this culture there of people who have had successful crowdfunding campaign. They like to pay it forward. So you reach out to them first and share what you're doing. Also, a crowdfunding campaign starts 3 months earlier. You start to reach out and share with people that on this date your product is going to be up. You start doing as much marketing as you can. You try not to have paid marketing because obviously if you could pay for marketing, then you wouldn't need the funds. But you go after as much press and or fellow people here watching right now who maybe, as I talked about the importance of social media, you follow them back if your followers increase and you ask them for their advice and or their sign off on you when crowdfunding campaign comes. And then when the crowdfunding campaign does happen, you make sure that you call as many of your friends and you say, please buy 1, buy 2, or buy 3, buy whatever you can if you can. Because of course, if you don't do that, when people go on and they don't see a good amount of traction or whatever, they go, well, why am I going to do it? Nobody else is doing it. But it is just just as intense as saying, I got a book coming out in 3 months, or I got a product launch. I'm going to be in retail in X amount of time. So go back to all the people that have supported you in the past and then let them know the date that you're going to come out. And I think that you should come out with it because worst scenario, if you don't hit your margin, your marker, wherever you want to be, and coffee, has a great margin in it. But if you don't, you'll at least have advertised, and maybe somebody out there or a couple people out there will say, you know what, I love the way these guys are thinking. Yes, Savvy Samuel said pre-sell. Anybody here who has done a successful crowdfunding campaign, please can you suggest the lean startup? I know I'm going off for a second, guys, but Jenny from the Chopping Block said check out the Lean Startup. That's an absolutely great book. Savvy Samuel said pre-sell, and anybody here who has any kind of advice, please put it in the comments for the guys to check out. That's the insight that I can give you on doing crowdfunding because it is an effective way. There's a lot of people who want to get behind you. There's a lot of people also who will know that depending on how much you raise, that they can wait for their product. They'll give you that kind of leeway, because depending on what you did. It happens a lot of times on Shark Tank. A lot of times people go, "Man, I saw you on Shark Tank," and our entrepreneurs say, "Hey, please, because of the influx, can you please wait 30, 60, 90 days?" And people are very, very forgiving when they know that you're doing, good work.
All right, cool.
All right, one more question, guys. It could be a fun one too. Whatever you want to talk about.
All right, so you brought up like some of your artists. Coming from Hollis, which song do you listen to that helps embody the neighborhood? What would you say makes you really think of Hollis?
Um, Tough question. Never been asked that before. It's going to be very hard because I'm so attached to that city and that town that if I think of if I hear the song "Hey Lover" by LL Cool J, I'll remember LL Cool J sitting on the rock with the FUBU shirt on, 3 blocks away from my house, right? If I see I see Lex Coupe Beamer and the Benz, whatever that one is, or "Summertime" by Lost Boys, I'm gonna think about being in the park. Or if I see Run DMC or I hear Run DMC do "Whose House," I'm gonna think about being in Jamaica Park with him going around going "Whose House," So it's just so crazy. Or if I hear anything by Ja Rule, I mean, it's really hard. I can't I can't think about it. Let me see. Another artist who came from Hollis, Queens, Waka Flocka. So Waka Flocka's mom. It was funny. Waka Flocka's mom lived. They grew up. We grew up 5 houses down from each other, and she would also discover Nicki Minaj. Her name is Deb, and she has a brother. And I remember because I was an only child, I had nobody to play with. So Waka Flocka's uncle, who was at that time, he was about 4 years old or 5 years old. He was hanging out. He was walking down the block because they had a large family. Debbie, who was Waka Flocka's mother, and he was just hanging out. And I remember taking him home and locking him in my garage because I had no pets. I had nobody else, and I was about 8 years old, and he was probably about 6. But they shouldn't have let him out the house. And I remember my mother saying, I kept going out to the garage. I was thinking I was taking out their Cheerios or something to feed him because I had him out there for about 20 minutes, and he was going to be my brand new pet. And I remember my mother finding out that I had a little boy in the house, in the garage, and she made me return him. She made me return Waka Flocka's uncle, who now is obviously he's 50 years old. But anyway, a random story I don't think I ever told anybody about growing up in Hollis.
Great. That's cool. Cool. Mine would be LL Cool J's "Around the Way Girl."
What?
My song would be LL Cool J's "Around the Way Girl."
You're Around the Way Girl.
Yeah.
You know who else is from the Hollis, Queens? Intro, the group Intro as well. So just so many different crazy stories about growing up there. But listen, I got to get out to the Philippines. FUBU is a huge brand out there. We license it to the Philippines, and everybody tells me about it. My buddy who just left my house, so we've been quarantined for about 3 months, is Filipino, and we just had we ate a lot of great Filipino food. Everything was sweet, and we had a good time. So, but thank you more importantly for what you do. And I want to make sure that I get your hashtag correct. I mean, not your hashtag, all right. So it's Black 6 Coffee.
Yes. Number 6.
Black, the number 6 coffee. And thank you, T-Mobile, for bringing you to my attention. I want everybody here to follow you and hopefully give you some great advice because I have some brilliant people. I have CEOs of Fortune 500 companies who are on here, and then I have everyday entrepreneurs and mompreneurs, and there are so many people out here who can give you some really good advice and get behind you and help you, and you can of course support what they're doing. And so thank you so much for what you do, and again for serving our great country and allowing me liberty.
All right, Damon, thank you for having us on. Thank you.
All right, guys, thank you. So there you go. I mean, when I think and I see people like that, that you didn't hear during that conversation at all anything about what they wanted to accomplish personally. How is this such this difference of people in the world where we're going through all these big challenges in our lives? You know, people like that are trying to serve the community, and then people break into their store and loot their store. I mean, that is absolutely crazy. But you know what? Thank God for people like them, and thank God for anybody here who is like them, who is on the front line, who is a teacher, who's a firefighter, who's EMS, who are police, who after, you know, all this craziness, who always have meant good, and after all this craziness of having working 12 hours a day for the last 5 weeks probably, and other officers are taking off, and you're getting people spitting in your face when you know that, you know, the first time that something happens to one of them, they're going to be calling you to help them. Thank you for all the people out there. And thank you, more importantly, for T-Mobile right now to give me this platform to be able to speak to you. T-Mobile for Business, who wants to really help people. And way before this stuff was going on, T-Mobile for Business was reaching out and giving assets and giving resources. So make sure you head over to tmobile.com/business and take advantage of all the amazing resources they have for small business owners. Now, here's my challenge of the week. And you know, my challenge of the week always has something to do with whatever the fact of the Did You Know segment. And I'm going to personalize my challenge of the week for you. I'll give you an example. Go through your social media, and whether it's the last 10 posts or whether it's the last 100, check out if you are being consistent with the message that you're putting out there. Check out if you are following other people back, if you are supporting other people. And check out, you know, if you're consistent. And if you're consistent, how can you grow more and be consistent? I'll give you an example. You know, I'm human, and a lot of times I see on my social media a lot of negative comments, not a lot of negative comments, but ignorant comments, right? And I posted one about Statue of Liberty, and I'm always upbeat and uplifting. And even if I do want to have a conversation on there with somebody who may have said something negative, my conversation is not screw you and combative. I may say, I'll give you an example. I'll say, like, Lady Liberty post that I did the other day. I'll say something like, you know, because of Lady Liberty and those two gentlemen and our men and women in our services, we have the right to respectfully disagree. And even though I don't agree with you, I like the fact that you gave me the feedback. But in this area, I happen to know a good amount about Lady Liberty in comparison to what you think you know. Now, I'm not a historian, and I'm always open to learn, but I do respect the fact that you gave me that comment. I disagree, but we can disagree because of United States and Lady Liberty, and thank you. And you know what happens? They become bigger fans. They don't start fighting you. They like the fact that you engage with them and you respected their point of view. Now, on the other side, I do see people who write super ignorant comments. You know what? I go and check them out, and you know what? They have 10 posts and they know 10 people. That's not the real them. You see, the real them is here commenting to you. This one just wants to get up underneath your skin. You don't give them the time. You don't answer them, because what happens when you answer them here, and you may lash out because they said the most ignorant thing they can say, the people over here watch you when you are at a time of weakness or upset, because everybody in the country right now is confused and upset and scared and angry, embarrassed, different things, and they may catch you the wrong time. But your answer to this person who had a fake account will end up being the way that you reflect who you are, and you could have been going through something really bad. That person may even know you. They may even know you. They may work with you, and they may hate you. And they created that account because when they hear that you're going through some stuff, they just ping you. They just ping you. They just ping you. And they get you to respond to them. And you don't have to do that. Always remember what your mama used to say. You ain't got nothing nice to say. Don't say it at all. So just remember to hear all those type of things and sift through them. And on the flip side, you know, the people that are loving you, the people that are giving you, cheering you on, if they're consistent, and you're consistent with them, you may find a new friend, not a social media friend. You may find a new friend. People, a lot of times, they don't have the resources around them, or they don't feel special where they are, and they see you and they can relate to you because you're the person that thinks like them. and they're reaching out, they're spending time talking to you. Spend time and talk to them, right? So that's the challenge of the week. Go through your social media, understand that we're all human. Your brand, though, is attached there. You ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. If you want to object to somebody, be nice about it and ask them their feedback. Remember, feedback is still an investment in you as long as it's coming from somebody who's willing to stand behind their avatar and know and let them know that it's coming from you. So thank you so much. Tomorrow, I'm going to have, and again, thank you, T-Mobile, and thank you, Black Six Coffee. And thank you everybody for watching. And tomorrow I'm going to have my power talk with Swin Cash. Swin Cash, WNBA star. I think Swin is working with the team in New Orleans, and her husband, my buddy, is Steve Canal, who was over at Miller, and he, way before this whole stuff of we need African Americans here, we need African Americans there. He supported a great tour that I was on. And I'm also going to have Manuel Suarez, the digital marketing expert. Now, trust me, you're going to learn a lot from Swin, being a female that's made it to the highest point of, her industry and then transitioned, right? Being a woman of color who was very, very strong. And you're also going to learn from Manuel, who is a digital marketing expert. And everybody here, inclusive of myself, always needs to get our game even better when it comes to being a digital marketing person. All right. Love you all. When you see Ralph McDaniels on Friday night with those fuzzy videos, you know what? Just go get your hair gel and go get your tie-dye. And, if you're old like me, rub some Bengay so you can move a little bit and dance a little bit and point to your kids and, and sound like your grandparents. You don't know about that. You don't know about that, girl. You don't know. We used to do this back then and have a really good time. But more importantly, have a really great week. And I love you all, and I'll see you tomorrow.